In this we're all the same. We're links in the chain.
All right. Hello and welcome. Hey, there we are. Hey, Justin.
Awesome.
Hey, how are
Awesome.
you?
What's up, Mom? Dr. Mom, how are you? I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome, everybody. Hey, Justin, your connection doesn't seem to be good. So you know how we do in conflict, because that's what we talk about here. We talk about all kinds of conflicts. We're going to make a quick adjustment and we're going to be side by side today in just a minute. But I'm going to let you all know what we talk about. This is working it out across generations. And I am Dr. Lynne, and I'm the mom in the show. Well, that's my role anyway. And Justin is the son in the mom son connection. And we talk about all things conflict. But what we also bring to it is the fact that we are different generations. Welcome to our third episode, where we are talking about, is cursing a sign of intelligence or ignorance? And what a topic this is, let me tell you, because I never even thought about the fact that cursing might be a sign of intelligence. I happened to wake up probably, I guess, about 3 or 4 months ago and was going through Google articles. And I saw an article that said cursing is a sign of intelligence. And I thought, now that's interesting, because that's not how it was ever presented to me. In fact, when I was growing up, it was clear. My mom was very clear that if you had to curse, then you were ignorant and you did not have a good vocabulary. But this article, this is a CNN Health article, and it is an article that talks about Timothy J. He's a professor at a professor of psychology, right, at Moss College. I'm sorry, Moss College, Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts. Mike's back there. All right. And he talks about cursing as a sign of intelligence, and because he's been studying it for 40 years, y'all. Imagine somebody whose job it is getting paid to study cursing for 40 years. There he is.
Trying
Yeah.
not to let me in the shot. Like,
I'm
what's going
sorry.
on?
Hey,
Like,
hey. Well, don't, as long as you don't curse at me, we good. so anyway, I found it really interesting. One of the things that he said, because he did a study, is that people who have really broad language skills also can really do justice to cursing. Like they really can use curse words as a part of their vocabulary, which means that they have a more extended vocabulary. And he also talks about people who curse being coming across as being more honest, like they're in touch with their emotions and are able to be honest about those emotions through using curse words. You can Google the article for yourself, but I thought it was really interesting. Also talking about being able to release like stress, tension, because you let it out, right? And you let it out with a word that seems to fit. Now, if you think about it, because some of us are not fans of cursing, a lot of us aren't. But if you think about the stress part, right? You really do feel better when the word fits. Same thing when you're ever searching for a word, right? You ever go, no, that's not the word. That's not, what am I trying to say? And then you get that word, you know that feeling. That feeling is, yeah, that's the word. That's what expresses it. And this article, I'm telling you, is fascinating. And they just updated it in June 2023. I think that's probably when I read it, somewhere around that time. Go check it out, because it is really an interesting conversation starter. In fact, my family, my South Carolina family, we have a family call every Sunday. And I introduced the topic, and I'm going to tell you, it took us through our whole call. Everybody had an opinion on it. We hope that you will have an opinion on it today, too, if you're joining us, because I find it fascinating. But Justin, what do you think of the article or what I've said about it?
Personally, I myself have a little bit of a motor mouth when I'm not on camera and not talking conflict with my mother. So I'm definitely intrigued to see more of how other people think and how other people feel, but to know that people have studied specifically cursing outside of just other languages out there, I think is really what fascinates me the most. So I'm really excited, and let's get to it.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? We definitely want you to put in the comments. You're here watching us. We definitely want you to put in the comments what your thoughts are. I can tell you, like I said, my mom did not curse. And on occasion, I might hear my dad say a word or two, but it was not something that, around us anyway, that I don't know, he spoke outside that, but he worked in schools, and he worked around a lot of parents of kids, parents. And so I don't know that outside he did. I don't know with his friends. He never revealed that. But my mom was very clear that is not her thing, and that will not be the way that we will speak, not just in the house, but outside of it. Definitely do not want to hear about us cursing anything, anybody. There were adults in my life who did curse, but not a lot, and certainly not a lot of them are in front of my sister and I. I'm gonna do a shout out to my Aunt D, who could bless any situation with with a curse. But for myself, I integrated it so much, I internalized it so much that I can tell you that one of my favorite songs, hip hop songs, is Heavy D's Don't Curse. I thought it was just great to actually challenge the hip hop community to make a full song without using curse words.
That's actually good too. Like, y'all should definitely go check that song out. It's Heavy D and the Gang, I think. There's like
Heavy D and the Boys.
Heavy D and the Boys. Yeah, five other artists. Definitely some great stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and they do a great job on the song. But it is a controversial topic, I think. And for this article to bring it forth, to have people begin to talk, or maybe people just outright dismissed it, I don't know. But I do know that because it is so prevalent, right, in society even more. And it's not like young folks invented it, so don't go blaming young folks, because I know that's something that we can do very easily. But it is more prominent in our society. But I'm gonna tell you, there are plenty of people in my mom's age group and my grandparents' age group who did curse, but I know I wasn't always aware of it. But a funny thing, I just said to Justin the other day that one of the funniest things that happened in my life was that when our oldest, rather, was probably around 7 and Justin was baby, we were sitting at the table with my husband and his mother, and she was talking to us, and I don't even know what the conversation was, but it was something apparently that she would have gotten heated for back in the day. And grandparents, they a little different when they have grandkids. But my husband was too upset. He put his hand on his hip. He said, wait a minute. Who is this person? Who is this woman? Because, Mom, you cursed all the time when I was growing up. And she looked at him like he had totally violated. She was just like, what? And just this look like, how could you put me out there like that? And then she just did this little coy, who, me? And it was great. I loved it because I didn't know her like that at all. I never heard her curse up to that point. So it was really, I loved it. I actually loved that. Here's somebody who is my mom's age, who actually did curse. And according to Lauren, she was very good at it. So it's a topic we really wanted to talk about today. First of all, generationally, it's a great topic, but also when it comes to conflict, this is a great topic. So we're going to talk about, we're talking about the article and cursing itself, but there are times when it absolutely causes conflict. And we want to talk about those times today. Okay, I'm still working out the media, y'all. So just hang in there. Okay.
Awesome. Great. So yeah, we're going to get into a little bit of how and when cursing can cause conflict. Now, as I said before, me personally, having a motor mouth in my personal life and being exposed, honestly, to cursing at such a young age, right?
By who?
By any and
Oh,
everyone that was
okay.
not you guys.
Okay.
I was a kid. I had a life. I went and played basketball.
Oh, yeah.
I
Okay.
went
You
and
did sports.
hang out and played sports. So it was anytime you guys weren't around, people were feeling way more free to express themselves. Around or just not around from their parents either, or any other authority, right? However, balance is everything. Balance is key. We know that we have to show up in certain places and show up around certain people with a certain respect, with a certain candor as young people to achieve our goals in whatever exchange we're in. So, as I said, let's get into a little bit of how these things can cause some conflict, right? So the first thing that comes up for me when I think about how cursing can cause conflict as an advocate for it, and I will say advocate for it.
Okay.
I think one of the things is cursing at someone, right? I think that not only just in today's climate, right, just in the natural forms of us as humans coexisting with each other, I think there's a very thin line for violence among all people, right? Something that someone said without cursing that comes off a certain way, a personal dig or whatever it is, right? When you add these certain labels, right, as some of these words are really labels and not kind of subjective feelings and things of that nature, that can definitely heighten that situation even more. And I think that's really key for, especially when you're talking to like friends, when you're dealing with people, in your age range at work, right? You for sure want to make sure that not only the relationship is established between both parties. However, if it isn't, being wary of what you say and how you say it is definitely very, very key. And I think the next thing that comes to my mind for me is simply the environment in which you're in when cursing is coming about, right? Who you're talking to. So I know when I'm at work, or if you're at work, talking to your boss, talking to some form of authority, going over some sort of plan for future endeavors, future projects, right? Getting any type of feedback on your performance in a quarter or something of that nature, right? That's probably not the time, even when you're trying to just express yourself, get something out, to curse, as that is your authority figure who's honestly in charge of a lot of how that experience goes for you outside of whatever you allow yourself to have control over. As well as I know for me, I really had to be careful when it came to talking to my parents and cursing and figuring out that balance there too, which we'll get into later, how we both manage that dynamic, right? As we talked a little bit about in our previous episode, our relationship balancing mother and son as well as friends, right? That was definitely a line that we had to establish and make sure was clear, so that there's no treading of any waters. We really are swimming safely and flowing with each other safely. So I think your environment is definitely another key factor, and who you're talking to. Definitely don't want to be doing that with authority. I learned that the hard way.
Yeah,
So.
the cursing out police officers, things like that, your boss, all those things.
No chance.
That's not something that you want to do. And I also want to say the one about cussing somebody out, right? I'm not saying that that's not a skill. I will say I've seen the opposite of that. My mom, boy, she could tell you off without using one single cuss word, and you felt like, or I sure felt like the person got cussed out, because she was good. She had a very vast vocabulary and she was good. So, sometimes it is about cussing somebody out, and sometimes it is about making them feel like they've been cussed out. But that does cause conflict. And also, if you're cursing at your kids, I think that that causes real conflict. Kids cannot really do anything, I think, but internalize something is wrong with them when you're calling them out their name, whether it's at home or particularly out in public. If you're trying to say that there isn't any problem with using curse words, then use them differently. Don't use them against your kids. I think that causes conflict. Hey, I can't tell you what to do. Is your life, is your house, is your family. But as somebody who has seen conflicts happen over 40 years of doing work, right? Me and Professor Jay doing 40 years of work, I have to say that that's one of the things. Cursing at your kids is one of the things that makes it worse.
For sure.
And the third thing is when someone is uncomfortable with it, which is an interesting one, right? Because in this same article that I read, Professor Jay says that knowing when and where to use swear words is a skill. It's a social skill, very much like being able to choose the kind of wardrobe that you would wear for particular occasions, right? So it's not just putting on anything, but really understanding, hey, this is this kind of an occasion. This is the outfit that I should wear. Very much so when you're talking about when and where to use curse words. And that is, it's something that if someone says that they're uncomfortable with it, I know you have free choice, but if that someone is in relationship with you, thinking about them when you are in conversation, particularly in conflict, could be very important, because are you trying to de-escalate conflict, or are you trying to make it worse by pouring gasoline on the fire already? If the person's told you they're not comfortable, one of the things that can happen is they can feel like you're intentionally trying to make them mad, even more mad than they already are, because they already told you they don't like it when you curse, and now you're cursing. And you might also be cursing at them, which is only going to make it worse. Thinking about that when you are in conflict, if you're someone who really enjoys using curse words, thinking about whether or not this is a person that really doesn't want to be addressed like that or hear you talk like that is really important. And if someone is uncomfortable because of today's music, we'll get into that in a second.
Yeah.
But today's music, right? We hear music everywhere, and we hear cursing in so many places now. And if someone is uncomfortable with that, I've seen people address strangers about either the way that they're talking, if they're using curses, or the music that they're playing, and just let them know that they are not comfortable with it. And I'm going to say that can cause conflict on either side, to be honest, right?
Absolutely.
Because the other one what we're talking about was if you're in relationship with them. But this is somebody who you just can't take it because you out in the street and they're either cursing or playing music that's using curse words, and you've decided to take it upon yourself. I see this usually as elders do this, right? You decide to take it upon yourself to let them know that you don't like it and you need them to stop cursing or to turn down or off the music. That act in itself can cause conflict. So I suggest that you think about what's the importance to you in that moment of having to approach them and say it. Then the flip side to that is recognizing, do you have those skills, the strategies to say to yourself, hey, this is probably not something I should be saying or playing right now, and therefore I'm going to respect this person and their request anyway. I'm going to respect their request, and I'm going to stop cursing, or I'm going to stop playing this music that uses cursing. But you could inflame the conflict by saying, like, who the blank blank are you? You know how it goes, right? But it's definitely something that causes conflict. All right. Do it. So let's talk about how you manage it. How do you manage cursing, right? When someone curses, because as I said, generationally, there's a huge difference. And as someone who did not grow up cursing or use, I can't say that. That's a lie. All right.
Oh, that's a lie. I was gonna say we are not here to lie to you. We are not here to
all right,
fabricate anything. That's a lie.
That's a lie. I someone who
That could have caused the conflict.
Right. And someone who was taught, punished.
There you go.
Right.
That sounds right.
If I use cursing, right, I definitely didn't use it in the home for sure. And so I can remember a period. I don't know. I'm sure it was like middle school, junior high school, let's call it, where I'm sure I would try to be cool and could use cursing. And I did curse, right? But not a lot. I just used it to try to be cool. And but it makes me think about something though, and that is that you know what can cause a laugh is when somebody who doesn't curse tries to curse. That is hilarious, even to me. And I've seen people do that. So my suggestion is, unless you're trying to get a laugh, don't do that. But in any case, generationally, for me, that was not done, certainly not in public. And I can remember us as kids, if an adult cursed, we go, ooh, something like that. Some people laughed because they thought it was cool. Others were just doing that to remind them that they're not supposed to be talking like that. And adults really did apologize, even kids who might have slipped or were just different from me in the way that they taught. They would apologize for cursing in front of other people, particularly if it was in public. I also remember, like, what do I call them? Preambles, like, I'm sorry to say it like this, or you're just going to have to excuse my mouth in this moment. And then you knew what was coming. It was definitely going to be some choice curse words. But even to do that, right? Again, that was part of the generation of me growing up with that. When it came to things like music, I can remember, like, you wanted to buy an album, Red Fox, right? Red Fox. If you don't know what Red Fox is, look it up.
Nope. I'll definitely be looking that up after the show.
You don't know? Oh, I have failed as a mother. Oh my goodness.
Don't know that.
Oh my goodness.
Taught me a lot.
Sanford and Son?
Okay.
Red Fox.
Okay. I'm like, what
gosh.
I don't know.
Harlem Nights.
Yeah.
Red Fox.
Okay. I got you.
Okay. All right. Oh, thank goodness. Anyway.
That could have been bad.
That was. In any case, Red Fox was known in his comedy act to let some curse words fly. If you wanted to buy that album, you would have to go somewhere, sometimes downstairs in the music store, way in the back, and they made sure they put it in a brown paper bag, and it was just like a secret kind of thing to do because cursing was in it, and it was, again, not the thing that was being promoted as the way to speak. It was kind of, I guess, rebellious. A way to say, I don't really care. This is the best way to express it, and I'm going to express it. Or some things call for cursing, and I'm just going to do that. But really and truly, it was not in the music. It was not something that you heard out in the streets, unless somebody just really was angry. And people would apologize for speaking like that, and they would especially apologize for speaking like that in front of women and children and elders. But times have changed.
Times have changed. Yes, absolutely. Times have changed. I think the biggest, so I'll just get in a little bit to, my experience with it. As I said, I certainly, was corrected in my household, like early on when it happened, if I slipped and things of that nature. As I said, I spent a lot of my time in school or playing basketball with my brother. And I've always been around, my brother is 6 years older than me. So anytime he was bringing me outside, I was always around older kids, like older people, right? 6 years is a school's worth of a gap, right? So like, I really had just a different, not a different, because I feel like a lot of younger siblings have that, but just that exposure to just an older crowd, older themes, I guess, that, you start caring about at certain ages, right? And in that, through their expression, I mean, cursing was just left and right. That's just what was happening. Words that I use, words that I don't use and don't identify with, right? I don't know. But for me, it was definitely one of those things where, as I had said, like if I was home, I'd felt like, okay, like I'm home. So let me, growing up, I'm home. Let me just be cool. Like I just don't need to do it here, right? If it happens, it happens. I can't help what I'm around all the time. But as I got older and started to, right, I love that you brought up music, because I'm a music person through and through. You know what I mean? Music has saved my life. Music has definitely been one of these things that keeps me going. I think it's the most universal language that we have. I think it can solve a lot of the conflicts that we have going on in our society.
Music can, you said?
Correct.
Okay.
And how we coexist. Absolutely. However, I feel like just with anything, right? Anything that feels good, right? Or just anything, right? Can be taken too far. Anything can be, anything healthy can turn into an unhealthy habit, right? When you do it too much, or anything of that nature. So I feel as if, even though it was a form of expression, and honestly, a way to show that humility in a way, knowing that our parents, maybe grandparents, couldn't really do that in their households, couldn't really do that when they left the house, or wouldn't. We've definitely taken that, run with it. And I think, because it's so just every other word in our music, something that's being said that's of a vulgar sense, right? Or a derogatory sense. It makes me extra hyper aware of where I am, who I'm talking to, and how they would like to receive me, even though I am going to still authentically be me, right? So if it comes out, it might be this word instead of that word, like a lighter word instead of that, I don't know, right? But however, being that it's every day for us, I certainly have taken on the role of okay, be you, know that is how you express yourself, right? But that reading of the room is so essential, and I think that young people need just that reading of the room skill, right? Before we even tap into this cognitive, skill of knowing when and where and how to curse in a certain room. I didn't know it was like a functional skill to learn.
It is now.
Like specifically with cursing, reading the room, right? I thought these were two separate things, but I can absolutely see how they're hand in hand. So, as someone who's still learning, that's the route that I would prefer to go. But shout out the Gary V's of the world. I mean, those are the people that I definitely identify with. I see the humility in those people. I see the human in those people. I see I'm not trying to act a certain way, come off a certain way. This is who I am, what I'm feeling, where I'm at. Those are the people that I certainly extra resonate with. So as I said, shout out to Gary V's of the world. I definitely will be one of those if I ever get my own show in the future. But we don't curse here. We don't curse.
No, we won't curse. We won't curse on this show. But is there ever a point where y'all just think it's too much? I mean,
yeah, for sure. There's times I think even in social settings where I'm like, okay, let me get on the aux and switch up the vibe here. I love my culture. I love my music. We live on Sedgwick Avenue. That's literally where hip hop started. So I certainly feel that and resonate with that, and that's the stuff that I'm listening to all the time. However, just exposure in my own life, right? It's always made me want to find more and see what else is out there and see what else other people resonate with, and possibly put them onto something else too, right? We're all just trying to add to our toolboxes. So
yeah. I mean, because for me, fine, I think I shared this in last episode. And the more you'll get to know us, the more you will hear me talk about growing up, right? And I really did not get to know who I was, whether it resonated with me or not, because I was simply forbidden from doing it. And even though, like I said, I would do some things out in with my friends or whatever and try to be cool, that still doesn't tell me who I am. It just says that I'm following the crowd. It doesn't say whether this really speaks to me. For me, it's too much, and maybe it's because I did grow up with it not being an everyday thing, with it not being hearing it everywhere, like I do workouts or whatever, and they play the music that they play, and it's just I'm suffering even more. I'm already hurting in the workout, and I'm suffering even more just listening to the music, thinking, my goodness, couldn't you have said something else, something in a different way? And why is every other word have to be a curse? I think, especially if we speak in the same language, don't we understand each other without having to do that? And I have to say that in many ways it hurts my ears. Like it physically hurts
like a
my
sensation
ears.
when
Yes,
wow.
I just like, come on. But
not me for the most part.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Right,
There's some stuff I can't hear, but yeah, absolutely.
But I will say that there are times though when I'm just like, yeah, that was perfectly said. Like, yeah, that's what it called for right in that moment. And that's okay. When you talk about the Professor Jay talks about how letting it out, like stress or whatever in a workout. Yes, I'm gonna say in my workout, right? If my workout instructor, shout out to Gabriel, if you listening, I definitely.
I'm still hurting from this morning, Gabriel. Yeah.
I definitely will do some curse words, and so will the rest of the folks in the class. But for me, generally, I don't like to listen to music where there's so much of it. And that's an interesting thing too, because I feel like that's a place that causes conflict. And maybe that's a whole nother show. But just growing up with music that I could listen to because it was my parents' music and we were able to share that and sing that, I feel like that this has caused a real, I don't want to call it a divide, but it's taken away an opportunity for families to experience something together and share something together, because a lot of us as adults we just can't bear it. We can't listen to the cursing, and we're not going to say it either. I know there are plenty of people who will not curse, right? Who just feel like it, not just a sign of ignorance, but it's just disrespectful and it's something that's unnecessary.
Absolutely.
And I grew up with so many people like that who are still like that today. And so I'm more, I think I'm more in the middle, but I'm definitely not the one who's going to say, it's cool, I can listen to that music, I'm good, or I would say it like that, or yeah.
I think that's so accurate for you, for just from, this is our household dynamic, right? Like,
Right.
I'm blasting music.
Yes.
All the time, whenever I can. It is, I'm telling you, the way in which, between calls, between meetings, for whatever before I get into something, it gets me in that mode. It keeps me in that mode. So I'm playing music all the time. Now I switch it up. Would you say I switch it up sometimes?
You have a very eclectic.
Okay.
No, your music is very eclectic, and I'm so grateful for that. So grateful.
Absolutely. I don't resonate with just Cedric Avenue and hip hop. No, but when that stuff is on, I totally hear you when you say, like, I'm not going to be the one to like knock on your door or come up on you and say, hey, I don't want to hear that right now, because she'll walk right past my room. She'll knock on my door and be right there hearing some stuff, and I need a couple minutes before she can come in, but the music's still playing. So I guess just like, I've never noticed it, but I also.
But when I walk out that door, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine when it's not the cool stuff, when it's not the stuff that we can resonate with together. Yes. Absolutely, I can understand how that's your reaction, but I completely see how that's just not something you do or have done, because I mean, she's absolutely just giving me the free reign to listen to whatever I feel is resonating with me the most. And there's times where, I'll say, hey, like, I know you don't like this rapper because they curse a lot, or you don't like this type of stuff, but there's some really great bars in here, like, you might resonate with, right? So even then, she'll let me read off some of those lines and stuff, right? So I think it's just finding that balance for you, right? Especially when we know there are certain people, me being one of them, that we can't escape certain words from coming out with, right? At certain times, being able to stand your ground, stand on your boundaries, but also be open to just what another person is seeing and receiving of the same universal language. I think it's just so safe for me. I think safe's the word. I feel very safe to listen to whatever I got to listen to, because it's not always that stuff.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that, because I've actually never thought about it like that. You've actually never come in my room and said, turn that racket off, or like, I don't want to hear it, or anything of that, right? If anything, I'm just like, let me pause it when she comes in, so she doesn't have to listen to it, at least in that moment. But yeah, I think that's interesting.
Yeah, well, it's funny too, because again, generationally, right? I remember when we had your party. You were 5, right? And we had a hip hop party.
Yeah,
it was great. It was fun. But the DJ, young guy, like, I don't know. What would you think? He's like 20s, whatever.
I was 5. So
yeah. Okay. Sorry.
I don't know.
Young guy. He comes with the music with the curse words, and he knew this. I'm like, these are 5-year-olds, bro. Where's the clean music? Oh, sorry. So just to not even think about that, and maybe he didn't really have to think about it, because other people, it didn't bother them. And I know sometimes, a lot of times, adults mix in with the kid party, and so they want to hear the music they want to hear. But we were really clear this was for the kids, and thank God he had the clean music with him. But it just really stunned me that here he was showing up to a 5-year-old birthday party and playing the versions with the curse words. That was really, again, just showed generationally how things have changed, the difference in that. I have to say too, for me, I think what's interesting, like in how we handle things, and I think we've come, I don't know if we are still settled on this, but I think we have, you don't even know what I'm going to say. I don't know if we are settled on this yet, but I know we have the discussions, because it does cause conflict. It's not major, but it does cause conflict in the you knowing the when and the wheres around cursing. Because I know that for me, right, it started out with, okay, now I'm his mom and he's cursing, not at me, right, but using curse words in front of me, which would have never flown with my mom. But again, as I said, that doesn't mean that was everybody in my generation, right? Everybody growing up. I know people growing up who their moms would call them out their name regularly, right? And I know they didn't like it, but they were used to it.
Like a curse word.
Yeah.
Wow. I think the most I've heard was like stupid, or I don't know.
From us.
Which is no. I mean, like, from other outside dynamics, family dynamics, conflicts, things like of that nature. I'd never heard like an official curse, like at their calling out their name. That's
I know they did it at home. I don't think they would do it in front of in front
Either
of
way.
other folks. But in any case, I did not have that. So the first time you cursed in front of me, I was just like, no, I really don't like that. Do you remember we had a big conversation about this? Because I knew it was like, I'm gonna be me, and I don't mean to mock you, so let me just stop. Right?
That still sounded pretty accurate, so I'm not gonna act like
I'm gonna be me, and you're not gonna tell me how I'm an adult. And I'm just like, I gotta think about how I feel about this. And I have to say, there are times when I honestly would love for you to consider to not do it so much. But I also just really appreciate that you are you. Like, that's so many adults. That's one of the things that they compliment you on. And I can tell it's because we weren't really allowed to be ourselves, but you are you wherever you go, in whatever situation you are. So for a part of me, I feel like I don't want to do to you what was done to me and try to make you palatable to me or make you so much like me that you don't have your own self to be. But I do want, in this area, I would love for the consideration, especially when we're out in public. At home, we do what we do. But when we're out in public, a part of it is I'm like you. I'm like anybody else. Like, young people care about what other people think, and whether we should or not, that's a whole nother topic.
Which I don't
Right.
anymore. So
Right. But I do care
Right.
about when you curse and there are other adults around and they know that I'm your mom, because I do either get the feeling or I get the looks like, this is okay with you. And again, I think we're working on that. Not just like, I want you to stop, but I think we're working on where both of us are on that, and having honest conversation. And I'm gonna tell y'all, this is straight off the cuff, right? We're having the
I wasn't
conversation
expecting,
right now.
I got therapy after this. I wasn't expecting, to get notes right now on me. I thought I was going to mentally prepare myself for that an hour in advance. But no, I mean, I'm totally cool. I'll take the note. Like,
Yeah.
Whether I take it or not, I'll take the note.
Well, what do you think about that?
I think I love everyone, but those kinds of people are whack. Who are you to question another person's parenting? And anything of that nature, and how things go in people's households. I think that is the number one thing, at least around cursing, that I've heard that causes some form of conflict. It's something about how they were raised. Oh, you were raised this way if you feel like talking in this way is acceptable, or clearly your parents didn't do this if you feel like talking in this way or acting in this way was acceptable, right? And I feel like for me, I'm not a parent, right? So shout out to all the parents out there, right? But I think parenting is subjective in the sense of it's really how you want to do it, right? Like, if you want to, you have full control of how you want to play that role, right? And I think for me, worrying about, of course, unless harm is being inflicted upon your kids from someone else's, right? But if that's not the case, then it's just for me, when it comes to opinions, when it comes to looks, when it comes to whatever, it's I'm never going to see you again. So, I mean, what does it matter? And if I do, and you bring it up to me, let's have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
As I clearly ran into you again for some reason. So I would use that time to then, go back into, well, is this something you're comfortable with? If they say no, fix that up, right? After that relationship has been developed. But I mean, I'm sorry, we're also from New York, where with strangers, it's just kind of you gotta do you, I'm gonna do me, and mind your business. We literally have a announcement, a PA announcement in our train stations that say, if you see something or hear something, say something. So I think we've adapted that a little too much, right? We can run with anything and turn it into something unhealthy. However, with those kinds of people, who cares? But
do you care that I care?
Exactly. So I think obviously, I care about you and what you think and what you feel. So, I mean, yeah, I would definitely consider, my mom's asking me to consider that, right? So I would definitely consider that. I don't want anyone to ever think for a second she's a bad parent, or she doesn't know what she's doing, or whatever, through my actions, through whatever it is. And that is something that I will consider, but I also know that time is too short. We die unfinished products, and people die unfinished products, and also not knowing who they are and loving who they are. And this is a part of me. Yeah. So, I mean, people are just going to have to deal with it until I'm not here, and then they can go find people that aren't like me, I guess.
Well, you also...
I'm going to be me until I go. That's just what it is. You don't know when we go. I'm going to be me. No regrets.
Well, what's interesting, too, is that you have models of both in the adults that have been a part of the village that has raised you.
And how does that feel for you as a mother?
What?
the adults who curse and kind of
Oh,
advocate for it
I
too,
don't have any
right?
problem
Like,
with that.
okay,
I don't have
that's
I
curious.
don't have a problem with those who don't, and I don't have a problem with those who do. I think, again, being you and being true to who you are and knowing why you don't or do. And I don't have a problem not cursing in front of people who are clearly uncomfortable with it or express it, or I already know, right, that they don't like it. I can make that skill, that shift, that I definitely have those social skills. And I think that the other way around is I'm good with being around the people that do. And I'm cool. Sometimes that's just how I want to express as well, around people who do curse, not showing off. That I've grown past, thank goodness. But also just knowing that it's okay. I think that's what it is. It's okay. They don't care if I say it, and in fact, they might applaud because that's how they would say it too. I mean, you have somebody, shout out to your Aunt Marcy, hope she's watching,
Yep.
who just can do it beautifully, and we all know in the friend circle that that's her and that she's going to express herself. And we've sent her even memes around, in particular the F word, and she's loved it. And I don't. Yet I know that you heard it growing up. I'm not that sensitive to it unless I really felt like it was somebody that you were spending so much time with and they just really weren't careful about how they were speaking around you. Then that would be something that I would have addressed. But I never felt like it was like that. I think, in fact, she's probably one of the people that you've learned to, that it's okay to be yourself around. Like, she's always been herself. Right. She's always been true to who she is. And so I think that having that model is not a bad thing. But it is interesting that you do have people, adults who you love and love you, who are on either side of this. Even your auntie, right? It's not a yeah, she's not a cursor.
Oh, really? But my brother, not around the adults, but around me for sure. So it's like, it's just about who people are, how it lands with them, right? And for the people I care about, let's talk about it in the what can I do, right, to shift. But again, I mean, randoms in New York City, I could care less. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. As we're 50 minutes into our episode, I'm just not going to lie to you. I'm not saying anything that's, hurting people. I'm not even one of those types of cursors
You're not
anyway.
cursing at people,
like, I'm not
really.
one of those types of cursors anyway. So I think for me, knowing even why you're saying what you're saying, like why that word needs to be put in there, right? What that word does to really capture where you're at, right? Thinking of these things, I do. So I think that's another thing that informs my end decision of, okay, be you, right? Just show how much of you can be. So
yeah, and I think I'm pretty sure, not pretty sure. I know one time your brother even said to me, he should not be cursing in front of you. Now he's a big brother. He's 6 years old, as you said, and he's always tried to be that model, right, for you to for good or for bad, in terms of whether that was to his detriment or whether that was to his growth, right? He's always been that model. But I can remember him saying that to me. And at the time that he said it, it was interesting. It was well past the conversation of a conflict that we had about it. And I get it. I got it exactly where he was coming from. But I also felt like it really didn't bother me. But I respect that it bothered him. I don't know if it still bothers him, because I know he definitely doesn't curse in front of me. I'm sure he curses in front of you, but not in front of me. But I thought that was interesting too. And that's how it is in families. People have all different kinds of ideas and ways of being in the world. And that's what creates conflict, when we're really not paying attention, being in conversation, listening to one another, taking into consideration, naming our boundaries, having more conversations, deciding if the relationship is worth it. I mean, that's another thing for me, is that when you're in intimate relationships, that can cause conflict when you're cursing at each other, or one person is cursing at the other one, and the other one really finds it disturbing. And there's just so many ways that this in particular can cause conflict, that you need to be having the conversations around it. And that's why we're doing this show, to help you to do that, and also to give you a chance to check out what the conversation can be about, and to think about what it is for you. So we're grateful that you tuned in to watch. And I have to say that one of the things that I found generationally, anybody who ever has watched the Actor Studio, I mean, acting is my thing. I love it. And so I've watched so many episodes of that, and love to the celebrity actor interviews. And the very last question that he asks every actor is, what's your favorite curse word? And the first time I saw that, I thought, wow, we have really, right, transcended this cursing thing, even across the generations, because he's saying this as a last question and finding it fun, and everybody else is also finding it fun as well. So wherever you stand, we hope that you enjoyed today. Please continue to watch, like us, subscribe, follow us on the Facebook page, on our YouTube. Definitely, again, like, follow, subscribe, whatever you have to do. Definitely, we would love for you to continue to follow us and show up and catch all the shows. You can catch the replays on E360 TV Trajectory channel. Any closing words, Justin?
Thanks for tuning in. And I'm going to keep being me, so keep being you.
And as always, we want to leave you with, conflict is here to teach you something about yourself. So go out there and find out what it is for you. See you next episode.